Hey everyone, welcome to DIY Ideas. Today I'm going to show you must-haves for sewing, and this time I'm not going to show you just the professional stuff, but I'm also going to show you really cool tips and tricks and stuff that you can use that maybe you didn't expect. So if you'd like to see, stay tuned. So if you have a sewing machine, then you need a couple more things. So sewing machines can be super expensive but also super cheap. So there are many factors. Some machines can do special things, special stitches, but all machines can do regular stitches. So no matter what machine you have, you're gonna need some special needles for it. So this is what they look like. And yeah, they're pretty cheap to buy. You can have different sizes. So you see here, I have the 70-100, but you can have thinner ones, thicker ones, depending on what kind of project you're working on. There are also special needles like the stretch or jersey needle or the twin needle. It really depends on what kind of project you're working on. Apart from that, we of course need our thread. So I would always recommend having one white one and one black one. There are also many different thicknesses, and yeah, just make sure you use the one or buy the one that's for a sewing machine. They're a little bit sturdier, and yeah, that's it as far as the basics for sewing machines go. Of course, you're always going to need hand sewing needles, so regular sewing needles. So they also come in different sizes, and the more sizes you have, the more freedom you have to adjust to your project. So here you basically always have the numbers, which is the size. I have here 1 to 9. And yeah, you have all different kinds. So you usually buy them in bulk, so multiple pieces. And there are different labels for different things that you need or want. Then of course you're gonna need regular pins. So this is gonna be super important if you're doing bigger pieces and even smaller ones. You're always gonna want to keep everything in place before you get to the actual stitches. So you see here I have different kinds. I have the regular, pretty basic kinds, and then here the ones with the head. They're easier to see, so I prefer those, and they're colorful, so again, easier to see. Fabric scissors are special scissors that you don't cut anything else with except for fabric, so that they don't get dull. And you see here I have a really big one, so this is for bigger projects and sturdier fabric. And then you can see here all the different sizes that I have. So yeah, the bigger ones of course are for bigger pieces, the smaller ones are really great for smaller pieces, and everything in between. Yeah, so you can have here the zigzag one. That's also the one I wanted to show you, depending on what kind of cut you would like to have. There are also other tools that you can cut with. There's this rolling thing, like a pizza cutter that you can basically use for fabric too. You just need to make sure that you don't damage the surface you're working on if you have something like that. So yeah, all in all, I think fabric scissors are great. Whichever one you have is fine. Then of course, things to measure with. So first here you have the measuring tape. The cool thing about it is that it's really flexible, so you can put it around your waist if you're taking your own measurements, and yeah, it's just flexible. Then I have a regular ruler here. So these are also great if you really want a straight line and if you're marking straight lines on your fabric or pieces of paper, or yeah, whatever you're doing for the project. Yeah, then an alternative is a hand gauge, which you see here, which is basically like a ruler but a little bit more flexible. And on the other side it has these zigzag lines that you can also make marks with. And then I have here a really old school wooden ruler, but it's pretty much the same thing as a regular ruler. So yeah, you can use any of these, all work the same. And yeah, now we have here some things to mark with. So I wanted to show you different things. So what I use the most is some fabric chalk, which looks like this. There are also different shapes and sizes, but this is the one that I have. This is something that can be washed off, so it doesn't leave any marks on the fabric, at least not permanent ones. Then here we have some washable pens and pencils and similar things. So yeah, you can use these and usually find them pretty cheap in most stores. So yeah, this is also a great option. So yeah, this little tool, I'm not sure what it's called, but this also leaves marks, and the cool thing is when you iron over a piece of fabric, they basically disappear. So this is also an option. I don't use it often, but I know some people swear by it. So then, of course, a regular pencil in case you have lighter fabric, then this can work as well. And of course, pins. So here I have wax paper. I use just regular one that you can find in the kitchen, but we can also use some bread paper. I don't know if you have this where you live, but yeah, you can use different types of fabric for doing patterns and drawing on paper. I find these two the best. Then, of course, you're going to need an unstitcher. This way, you're going to be able to unstitch your stitches neatly and nicely and not rip anything else. And yeah, of course, you can use smaller fabric scissors that have a bit sharper point like this one. So it can basically work as an unstitcher if you don't have one. And iron is definitely a must in most projects if you want to keep them neat. There are types of fabric that we don't iron over or that we don't have to iron over, but I do prefer doing that when necessary just because it makes everything look nicer and easier, makes it easier to work with. There are also smaller irons or bigger ones, so whatever you use, just make sure you don't burn yourself, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Then we have some safety pins, and these are also great, not just for turning things inside out, but they can also serve as regular pins if you don't have enough. And then we come to the fabric. So this is also something where you have a lot of freedom in, so you can choose the type, the sturdiness, the color, the texture, and there are many different kinds. Some pieces of fabric and types of fabric are more difficult to work with than others, but all of them yield some kind of result depending on what kind of project you're working with. They can be stretchy or not stretchy at all. So yeah, this really depends on the project that you're doing. And yeah, another thing to take care of when you're buying fabric, the width, at least where I live, is usually predetermined. So the width can be from 90 to 140 centimeters. Usually it's not much more than that. So just make sure that you know the size of the fabric that you're buying before you buy it. So when you're planning your project, just so you know what kind of width and length you're going to be working with. So the length you can of course then change and say how long you want it, but the width is usually something that is already cut out. So I have here a magnet that I sometimes use, and then I have here a little spool for my sewing machine. You can buy the extra foot or an additional one if you need one. Then of course a thimble as well if you need one. You can also use clothespins, and there are so many different things that you can buy for sewing that are optional. So I'm not going to show all of them, but these are just some that I have at home and that I often use in my projects. So you guys, this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different than what I usually do. And yeah, if you'd like to see sewing projects, feel free to click on the subscribe button. If you click on the notification bell, you're gonna get notified every time I post something new. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next project. See you soon. Bye!